August wrote about being an African American with as much compassion and criticism than I had ever read before.
One of our most famous company members is August Wilson. We refined the aesthetic that we do at Penumbra using his plays to do it.
Well, August Wilson's body of work speaks very eloquently to his mastery of the shifting context of African American history in the 20th century, and his own sense about the variety and richness of African American community life and perspectives and experiences.
The specifics of the plays are Black American culture, but if you look at what the plays are about, they're about love, honor, duty, betrayal. You see, they're about things that we all know that embrace all cultures. No matter who you are, you can connect with that.
Before Wilson was a great writer, he was a reader.
My mother taught me and my brothers and sisters how to read when I was like 4 years old, you know, because for her, reading was, if you could read, you could do anything. I had already wanted to be a writer at 14 and discovered a section of the library, the Negro section. There was about 30 or 40 books there. I said, okay, I'm gonna read all these. I began to connect and realize that there was something larger than me, that I was part of a larger group of people. And I thought, well, one day I'm gonna have my book up here.
Wilson came of age during the Black Arts movement of the 60s and 70s. In 1977, he came to Minnesota.
So I got on an airplane and I came here in time for the first show at Penumbra that night. It was the same day I arrived in Minnesota. Moving from Pittsburgh to St. Paul, moving from a community of 55,000 blacks to a city in which a very small black population, you see, it enabled me for the first time to hear the voices of the people that I had grown up around. When I was there living amongst all of that poetry, if you will, that language that I didn't really value the way that black people spoke. Here in St. Paul, I began to hear it and learn to value and appreciate it. There's a lot of mental and spiritual preparation that goes on before you actually commit anything to the page. Then from there, once I get involved in the play and the characters are talking to me, I more or less write down what the characters say. I start anywhere. I don't necessarily have a beginning, middle, and the end, because I don't really know the story. I trust that the characters are going to tell me the story. I'm writing, and boy, Willie says Sutter fell in the well, and I go, well, that's news to me. So I begin to make explorations around what I discovered.
One of the most wonderful things I think that August does, because he's a poet, is that he can capture the musicality of this experience in the language that he uses. Ma Rainey's a stunning example.
I wanna learn that dance.
Wilson's 1983 play, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, takes place in the late 20s, a time when mainstream America began to commercialize the blues. It was also a time when new forms of jazz represented an emerging attitude among young African Americans.
Okay,
that's good, Ma. That sounded great. Good job, boys.
Cutting to tune that guitar, we'd really have something.
You wouldn't know what a tuned-up guitar sounded like if you heard one.
Levy, what is that you're doing? Why are you playing all them notes? You play 10 notes for every one you're supposed to play. It don't call for that.
You're supposed to improvise on the theme. That's what I was doing.
You're supposed to play the song the way I sing it, the way everybody else play it. You ain't supposed to go off by yourself and play what you want.
I was playing the song. I was playing it the way I felt it.
I couldn't keep up with what was going on. I'm trying to sing the song. You up there messing up my ear. That's what you was doing. Call yourself playing music.
You're supposed to improvise on the theme, not play note for note the same thing over and over again.
You just better watch yourself, you hear me?
What's that supposed to mean?
All right, you're gonna find out what it means.
Go ahead and fire me. I don't care. I'm getting my own band anyway.
All right, nigga, you're fired.
You think I care about being fired? I don't care nothing about that. You're doing me a favor.
The music was developing, and Levy was right, and he was frustrated because he couldn't find an outlet for that. Blacks were not in control of their own music, of their own creation, of their artistic output, their spiritual offspring.
Wilson's art remains a part of the community through theaters like Penumbra.
To come back here and to see a play like Marion's Black Bottom, I can remember standing out in the hallway here and telling Lou about the play as I was writing it and describing the part where Levy was challenging God and had chased Cutler around the room. And I sat here that night and I watched Lou playing Cutler run around the room. And I would say, wow, yes, I remember when I was writing that.
August Wilson's writing is returning Black performance to the role it played in the past, using creativity for cultural survival.
For me, it's first a mystical process, because I don't know where these voices come from, and they give me all this stuff, and then I use my knowledge of craft and whatever to shape and mold that and structure scenes that, you know, build and et cetera, in order to end up with the play.
We are doing a production by Pillsbury House and Mount Curve Company of Terrell Alvin McCraney's The Brothers' Size.
Hot sun on my back, hot in my face, hot.
I've been real lucky over the last few years of being able to work with cats I want to work with. You know, to be able to work with J-Dub, to be able to work with Gavin or Lemire. They're basically three of the best actors that I've ever worked with.
You left? I know. You don't want me to treat you like you locked up no more.
Anybody I cast them knowing they're an artist. And having been an actor myself for a lot longer than I've been a director, actually, I knew the kind of director that got the most out of me was the kind that had their vision, but also could listen. Directors can talk all kinds of crap that they want to talk, but the baseline is casting is 100% of the job. You don't get that right, it don't matter how brilliant you are. Penumbra taught me how to do a lot of things. I really felt that I was an actor when I was working at Penumbra, because it was show after show after show, and you'd have all different kinds of parts in them. And I think I directed 2 plays a year at least, direct 2, acted 2.
Marion was an artist and knew he was an artist before the rest of us realized we were. You know, when most of us were talking about basketball or talking about baseball or talking about something else, Marion would want to talk about theater.
We all sort of grew up together, making the same kind of mistakes, doing almost everything too much. We were put together largely because we were unhappy with depictions of African Americans in the newspaper, on stage, and movies, and so forth. And we knew, by virtue of being African American, that there was more to the story than was being told.
It was probably the most exciting time I've had in the theater. I didn't know it then, but when I look back on it, there was no time where I was as creative, working with people as creative, who were as hungry and driven as we were. And we could do anything. We could go from Sam Shepard to Ed Bullins to, you know, new plays coming up. And August, always August Wilson, who I consider the finest playwright America has produced.
One of our most famous company members is August Wilson. We sort of refined the aesthetic that we do at Penumbra using his plays to do it. That provided the content for us to define who we were as actors, directors, and so forth. We did a production of Fences that was absolutely stellar. Marion played Gabe. I am shaped by that performance. I can never think of Gabe, nor could August, frankly, think of Gabe in any other way than with Marion doing it. He had something that was so real, so honest. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. It was phenomenal.
I loved acting. I loved it. There was nothing better for me than when the lights went down opening night and came back up. I wanted to be on stage for that. The piano lesson. It was the first time I directed one of August's plays. And talk about being afraid. You're doing it wrong, he's gonna tell you about it. And I was in New York actually the night he saw it. And I called back home and talked to Terry Bellamy and said, well, T-Man, what August say? And he went, man, August flipped out. And I think flipped out means he hated it. You know, I said, oh man, he ain't gonna never let me get near his work again. And Terry went, no, I don't think that's the case, brother. He loved it. August talked to me a month later. He told me that it was the best production of anything he had ever seen. And asked me where I got the ideas for some of the stuff from. I said, well, my father always used to go to answer a door with a pistol if it was past midnight, because he didn't know who was at his door and why they were at his door and what they were bringing to his door. You know, so I had, at the beginning of the show, when Boy Willie's knocking on the door calling for Doker, I had Doker check his pistol, put it back in his robe, and go up and said, okay, who is it? You know, little things like that, touches that I pulled from my father. So he had me direct a play of his, Jitney. And so our relationship started, writer to director, there. August wrote about being an African American in this country with as much heart, emotion, compassion, empathy, and criticism than I had ever read before. You know, it was like, well, this guy talks like my father, and I'd never seen this guy in a play before. His breakthrough play, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, broke through not just for him, but he broke through for just about everybody black in the American theater. All of a sudden now there was work. There was work at theaters that could pay. There was work at all the big theaters that didn't do black work. I look at that time from 94 all the way to 2005, when I was working with August, being his Broadway director and dealing with all of what Broadway is. I mean, there's nothing like being involved with a Broadway show in the spring in New York. New York is all about theater in the spring. You got the Tonys, you got the Obies, you got the Drama Desk, and being a part of all of that, you felt like you were on cloud nine. And I was. I was one of the highest paid directors on Broadway at the time. And got failed by my kidneys. I have a kidney disease called polycystic kidney disease. And when it hit, I was doing Gem of the Ocean in Boston. Went to the hospital the beginning of the 4th week of rehearsal. And August had to go to somebody else. You know, he came and told me himself, which is what August would do. You know, and broke down and cried. And I said, nah, man, you got to go on. You know, the play's going to Broadway in December, and I can't tell you where I'm going to be in December. So I came home. And in coming home, friends had theaters now, and I started working again, and I think I'm doing the best work I've ever done. think I'm a lot less insecure, to where I can listen to actors more, to where I'm not feeling the pressure of being a Broadway director, feeling the pressure of satisfying an audience. And that's a much better pressure to have, because it affects your work in a positive way.
You ain't never this quiet.
So I always have in my head two things: what my mother would say about the play I'm directing, and what August would say.
I know you up to something. Tell me what it is, old Juicy.
The relationship with August is probably the most important relationship I'll ever have in the American theater. It made me want to do the kind of work August did. It made me want to do plays that reflected the beauty of my mother and my aunts, who basically raised me. We believed that their life was worthy of art. We wanted to show the world what we knew about our people and about the greatness and our ability to survive. And so I try to keep that in mind as I'm directing.
Ogunsai sees it, how could he not? And is left alone in the early foreday with the morning mist.
Just like that, Marion?
Yeah,
All right.
just like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take 10.
This road is rough. This road is rough.
Well, if you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66.
This is designed by Lance Brockman. What we will have are 5 monitors that you can see here. This is our musical director, Sanford Moore. Brilliant man, even though he's here, I'll say it. Okay? All right. We're in, I think, the middle of the 3rd week of rehearsal. So people are just getting off book. Hopefully not off lines.
What does that mean, you married?
Ladies love it.
Oh, you don't think I know how it works with the ladies and money?
They're starting to create character and put together all the pieces.
You could send them anything. They just happy something is sent, that's all. You're gonna give them something that's cut and dying. That'll make no sense. Man, you could send a woman a box of pencils and she'd be happy, 'cause you sent her something.
The name Penumbra began when we began the company in 1976. I knew that I wanted our program to be professional. We were a program of the Hallie Q. Brown Community Center. You got to remember, at this time, we weren't able to get State Arts Board funding because they said we were doing social service, not art. Penumbra is a Latin term that means partial shadow. It's that place that an artist has to go to create that world that is neither light nor dark. It also sort of symbolized the marginalization of the culture and all that sort of stuff. These are all afterthoughts. It was fun to say, Penumbra, you know, it's a fun word to say, yeah. The project that we're working on right now is a play called I Wish You Love. It's written by Dominic Taylor. What Dominic has put together here is not so much about Nat Cole, although there are 22 songs in the performance.
Nat King Cole show. In the evening may I.
But when the show goes down, when they break for a commercial, you'll also see commercials, and then you'll see the actors and producers interacting about life, about what's going on in the world, because there are news clips in there as well.
While he was the governor of South Carolina during the Second World War, he told Harry Truman, and I quote, "I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that there's not enough troops in the army to force the Southern people to break down segregation."
This is 1957, so the civil rights movement is hot, and people are being challenged in all sorts of ways. America is being asked to live up to its promise, and in many cases it's beating people down and killing them, threatening them, lynching them to do it. So all of these things, this suave, black, male crooner is doing his stuff, while at the same time you break and go to a newscast and little children are being pushed around as they're trying to go to school in first grade. I mean, the comparison is, well, it's striking.
I think he didn't like the way I said officer.
Them cops think we should still be in a field somewhere.
Knocked the hat off my head. Then it was on, I guess.
There's a real social justice, social consciousness part of the art we do, but it is always firmly ensconced in the African American experience. It's ensemble oriented, and it is of the highest quality we can muster. The way we produce this work and cultural influence on the work is very subtle. Cultures manifest themselves often in shadows, and we'll do something that is expressed in a particular Afrocentric sort of way.
So she looks at me and says, "I know you stole that cookie from the cookie jar." I looked up and said, "Who, me?" "Yes, you." "Couldn't be." "Then who?"
And all the black people in the audience will laugh, or they'll get the joke, or they'll cry. And then others who aren't of that experience, well, you'll see them sort of looking around going like, well, I've got to lean into this a little more.
"You stole the cookie from the cookie jar."
All of the work we do is presented as though there are no one but African Americans in the house.
"Who stole the cookie from the cookie jar?" "Who? Who?
Just a second.
At first, who? It's when after you gather yourself. It's who.
Oh, I'm taking too long?
No, they're taking too long.
Oh, okay.
You can take the time that you want. It's when they respond.
You have to listen with a kind of specificity and a kind of intent. I've seen it happen so many times here. People who aren't African American will come in and you'll see them going, I don't know what they're saying. I don't understand that. And then you'll see them sort of lean and they'll miss a joke or something will happen and they'll say, I've got to attend to this a little more carefully. And before you know it, their ear becomes accustomed to that way of speaking, that kind of intonation and so forth. In a similar way we relate to Shakespeare. You know, that takes a degree of concentration, which, incidentally, lends it a kind of authenticity that you just don't see anywhere else.
Who stole the cookie? Stole the cookie. Who stole the cookie? Stole the cookie. Stole the cookie. Who stole the cookie? Stole the cookie. Who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? It was a rhythm lesson, not even know it was coming.
I always told your daddy, if I was ever gonna hire another drummer, it would be your mama.
So are we gonna try?
Why not? Who stole? Man, you something else.
After we play here, we will take it to Kennedy Center, and we'll play there for a couple of weeks, then to Hartford Stage in Connecticut and play there, and then, who knows, perhaps New Albany next. This experience that I present when I direct, and I only direct things out of this genre, it's so specific, but out of that specificity, I guarantee you will find yourself. It is impossible not to, and that's the beauty of being human, is that we can reach across cultures, we can reach across languages, all sorts of barriers. I've got you looking up here intellectually processing something, and then you sneak up and go, ah, gotcha, that's you being human. That's what we live for, pray for, that human experience.
August Wilson is an iconic American playwright, canonical American playwright. He won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, multiple Tony Awards for his plays. He came to Penumbra as a poet and had his first professional production there. He wrote a 10-play cycle, including Gem of the Ocean, Fences, Joe Turner's Come and Gone, Piano Lesson, and Jitney, that ranks up there with Shakespeare and the Greeks. Lou Bellamy and August Wilson were really, really close friends. Lou Bellamy as a director reflects August Wilson's values as a playwright, and the two of them were symbiotic that way, worked together to create an aesthetic that's really profound and that's still rippling across the country. I remember many years ago when I interviewed August Wilson, he said that his job, his hope is to create, to show in his plays that there's a set of manners that can take a man all the way and a woman all the way through this world. And that set of manners is found in African Americans. I think in some ways Penumbra lives out that creed.
This program is made possible by the state's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.